Avenged Sevenfold just might have changed the way you go to concerts forever. We'll talk about that in the regular news section. We also have the Aftershock Festival has announced their lineup for this year, and there are some names on there that are a little surprising, though they probably shouldn't be. And Slaughter to Prevail has a brand new song and music video that we're going to be talking about in the new music section. All of that and a bunch more in music this week. Welcome, nerds, to this week's edition of the Music News. This is just a section, one section of six, count them, six other sections that we do over on the main channel in a show I like to call Week in Nerddom, where we talk about all of the nerdy things. You can find a link to that show down in the description or at the end of this video. Now let's talk about new music, touring information, and other generally interesting things to do with the music news. You thought I was going to say generally nerdy, didn't you? So let's talk about new music. There is no follow-ups or corrections to make, so we're jumping right into the new music. And first thing on the list is Godsmack have released a new video for their song Truth that came out on their last record, which is the last record they're putting out. This is their farewell tour that they're on. Record was called Lighting Up the Sky. The name of this song with the video is called Truth. It is a power ballad like we're back in 1987 with a Godsmack spin on it, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I know a lot of people out there like to talk a lot of smack about the butt rock, if you will, which is arguably where Godsmack would be classified. I would feel more appropriate with the active rock categorization, or even better, hard rock, because that's where all of these silly extra subgenres come from. Yeah, Godsmack, Sully Erna's voice is fantastic, always has been, presumably will be until the end of their career because it's ending soon. And the video, though, leaves a little bit to be desired as far as the video production goes, but that's not necessarily why we're listening or why we're watching it. We're watching it because we want to hear the song. The song's kind of trite. I'm not gonna lie, the lyrics are definitely a little bit like, you've heard it all 72 different times before. Really, the thing that shines here is Sully's voice, and it's worth it just for that. So very much a recommend. Godsmack is solid stuff. Whether or not you like the fact that they've been kind of making the same record ever since their second album, that's a whole different conversation for another day. This is a solid ballad though, go check it out. We also got a new track from Demon Hunter this week. The name of the song is Worlds Apart. It is a standalone single. It is not associated with an album per se. This is kind of Demon Hunter the way I remember Demon Hunter when I first found them. A pretty heavy dose of like death metal, and then there's the melodic soaring choruses to go along with it, and that's kind of where I like my Demon Hunter. They get into the new metal stuff a little bit, and definitely into the metalcore stuff quite a bit, and that's kind of the new metal version of Demon Hunter. Not a big fan. The metalcore version of Demon Hunter's also pretty good, but the death metal version of Demon Hunter is definitely where these guys shine. The only gripe I have about this track is really the mix. I feel like the vocal mix is a little unbalanced when you go from verse to chorus. The chorus is much louder as far as the lyrics go, and that just says to me it could have used another couple hours baking in the studio. But otherwise, a really solid track from the dudes in Demon Hunter. Definitely go check out Worlds Apart. Another new-ish band that's been around for a while that I've been really into for some time is Born of Osiris. They have dropped a new track this week as well. It's called A Mind Short Circuiting. Billed on all of the other news media outlets as an old school Born of Osiris track, and it's not really though. Like, you don't have any of the technical mastery of a Tosin Abasi or a Jason Richardson. You have whoever the current guitar players are, and neither of them are up to that caliber. It's statement of fact. It's a fair song. It's not as good as Born of Osiris once was, and that's a little bit disheartening. Is it still listenable? Sure. If you are really into technical, whatever their subgenre would be, metalcore, prog metal, I wouldn't necessarily say they would quantify as deathcore. Maybe some people would put them in that. For a hot second there are plenty of people who would have called them gent. I can see the comparisons there as well, but it doesn't necessarily make sense. They're kind of in the more technical side of metalcore, maybe? I don't know. I don't do well with subgenres. Either way, they're in the middle of the pack. They are kind of the definitive mediocre sound when it comes to this kind of technical prowess. And I keep saying the word technical. This track isn't even necessarily exceptionally technical when it comes to the Born of Osiris library or any of their contemporaries. So if you're a fan, you're gonna dig it. If you like heavy music, it's listenable. If you're just getting into this style of aggressive music, this is not the place to start. That brings us to a band that is firmly into the deathcore scene, and that is Slaughter to Prevail. They have dropped a new track, presumably from their upcoming record, which we still don't have a release date or a name for, but the name of the track is called Conflict, and it's a kind of a similar situation to the Born of Osiris track we just talked about. Like, these guys used to be one of the standout bands. I would say this track is a little bit of an example of them resting on that status. Is it a good song? Yes, it's probably much better than the Born of Osiris track we were just talking about, but is it good in terms of the upper echelons of the deathcore? Is it good in terms of the previous stuff that we've gotten from Slaughter to Prevail? And if you put it through that lens, it's fairly mediocre. We don't have any of the guitar technicality that we got on the last Slaughter to Prevail record. We have lost that guitar player for the band for reasons unknown. Been replaced by the British dude who they call out in the video as, I'm not even going to say the nickname that they use because try to keep this fairly PG to PG-13, and yeah, I'm just going to say the C word a number of times trying to remember the exact way they phrase it. So either way, and it just seems like the new guitar combination, the new guitar players, combination of players, I guess I should say, is not as technically impressive as it was in previous iterations of this band. I've said a number of times after having seen them live that they play the older tracks they play to, or the older songs they play to a track, because those guitar parts apparently are just beyond the capabilities of their current guitar players. And it sucks, but it's just a statement of fact. And I still think these guys are towards the top of the pack when it comes to the deathcore subgenre, but they're kind of losing their rank now with this subpar outing. So if the rest of this record sounds like this, it's not going to be great, like I'm hoping it's going to be, because I am definitely a fan. If the rest of the record sounds like this, though, it's just going to be disappointing. So check this one out if you like the breakdowns, but you're not looking for overly technical, aggressive music. If you're getting into aggressive music for the first time, you're just dipping your toes in the water, not the place to start either. And then a more poppy band that we haven't talked about for some time, though we did do a brief kind of reaction review to 21 Pilots before. They just came out with a new song called Overcome, and the evolution of this little band is very interesting because now we're dipping our toes into a trance kind of sound. At least the first quarter to third of this song is very trance influenced. Then we get a little bit more into the obvious sound that we know we've come to love from 21 Pilots, that kind of hip hop tinged pop rock kind of feel. And it's kind of exactly what you would expect out of a new 21 Pilots song, save for that beginning bit, which kind of is enough to keep you interested to see where it's going. So recommend this song if you are into pop music and you're looking for something a little bit different, but not much. If you just like quality song crafting, give this one a listen because there's definitely something to be learned with what they've done here, even if you don't necessarily enjoy the lyrics or the lyrical delivery. Just the orchestration is very interesting. But if you are just looking for heavy blast beats, this is probably not the track for you. Now let's get into tours and festivals, nerds. We actually have a decent sized touring section this week. Starting things off, we're talking about The Refused. It is a band that I have a very interesting past with, an interesting relationship with, as far as like the music they make and their political ideation, and how those two things do not necessarily mix very well in my head. But yeah, The Refused are playing their final festival date. The festival they're playing is in their hometown of Stockholm, and it is called the Rosendal Garden Party Festival. It's going to be alongside of the likes of Massive Attack, Turnstile, The Heavy, MIA, a bunch more. Link down in the description if you want to see the full lineup. I couldn't find tickets because it's in Sweden and I'm not. So if you're looking for tickets, you're going to have to look a little bit harder, but very interesting nonetheless. Next up, we have, speaking of anniversaries, we have Korn have announced a single date, which is a very interesting lineup. A single date, though, for the 30th anniversary of their self-titled record. That makes me feel very old. So 30th anniversary of the Korn record. It is going to be October 5th, though the record was released on the 11th. Who's gonna fault them for 6 days? October 5th this year, it's going to be at the BMO Stadium in LA. The lineup also includes, and like I said, it's a very interesting lineup. The lineup also includes Evanescence, Gojira, Scars on Broadway, Spiritbox, and Vended. So the Scars on Broadway, if you don't remember why you know that band name, is because that's Darren Malakian's side project band that he does while he's not doing System of a Down. And then Vended is another one that you might remember. We've done a couple of reactions to them here on the channel. We've also talked about them going on tour because the lead singer of that band is Corey Taylor from Slipknot and Stone Sour's son, as well as the bass player, or maybe one of the guitar players. I can never remember who it is, but one of those is the son of Sean Clown Crahan, also from Slipknot. So these guys have a little bit of clout when it comes to who their parents are. And so very interesting, like I said, very interesting lineup, very diverse lineup, because you've got the kind of pop goth rock with Evanescence, and you've got the definitely crazy other stuff with Gojira, probably the heaviest band on this lineup, and they're third on the bill. That's very strange. Spiritbox with the kind of newer gent inspired. I don't even know how you would go with Spiritbox, but still a little bit on the lighter side of things. And then Vended just doing their own scrappy little metal thing. Just a super interesting precursor, all leading up to one of the biggest nu metal bands to have ever lived. Tickets are available. You can find a link down in the description. There is some weird situation with Citibank, where Citibank card holders are going to be doing the pre-sale for tickets. I tried to get as many links as I could, all down in the description if you're interested. If you're going to be able to make your way out to LA this October 5th, then yeah, you can go to get tickets down there. From there, we have Halestorm and Prevail announcing a tour together. It's going to be kicking off July 9th in Raleigh, North Carolina. It runs through August 17th in Las Vegas, Nevada, and it's going to be also a very interesting lineup. Support is coming from Hollywood, Undead, and Fit for a King. So Halestorm, Prevail, Hollywood, Undead, and Fit for a King. Such very interesting tours are going on these days, and I'm kind of here for it, not gonna lie. There are tickets on sale right now. They are through Ticketmaster though, save for a very small handful of dates. I think I saw like 3 dates on this list that were not Live Nation slash Ticketmaster events. So if you're one of the lucky 3, if you're in the area for one of those lucky 3, then go for it. But otherwise, tread lightly. Then our next one is Aftershock Festival this year has been announced. It is going to be happening October 10th through the 13th in Sacramento, California. Again, Slayer still doing their reunion thing. They are one of the bands that are headlining. The other headliners for this festival, for the 4 days of this festival, we have Slipknot, Iron Maiden, Motley Crue, Pantera, Five Finger Death Punch, Judas Priest, and Disturbed. So those are just the headliners. There are a number of other bands going to be playing because it seems like there's going to be a number of stages. Obviously, there's 4 days and we have that many headliners. Yeah, very, very huge show. You can find a link in the description that's going to take you to the full lineup, and then another link in the description that will take you to ticketing. That is correct. So that is what we have for tours and festivals, though. Let's move into some regular ass news for music. Today's episode is sponsored by DUBBY. Real quick, I've been drinking this finally for the last week now, replacing my regular energy drink intake with a DUBBY drink, and it is doing the job actually rather swimmingly. So I'm totally behind this sponsorship. I really dig it. The flavor that I am drinking currently is the Push and Punch. It is a fruit punch lemon lime combination flavor. Tastes like if you were to take the Kool-Aid that you drank as a kid and then throw a little bit of vitamin C flavoring, the lemon lime kind of Spritey kind of flavor. That's exactly the flavor that you're expecting is this drink right here. So a couple of things to note about going with DUBBY instead of, say, getting your drinks from the grocery store or from the convenience store. I know a lot of people who drink energy drinks regularly just stop at 7-Eleven real quick and grab a Monster or whatever. This is gonna do you actually a little bit better in a number of ways. First up, it's only about $1.20 per serving. So this lovely shaker bottle that I got is actually 2 servings. So you're looking at about $2.40 roughly per shaker bottle, which will last me all day. That's around 300 milligrams of caffeine, which is plenty to get you through. I mean, to each their own, I suppose, but 300 milligrams is a good amount of caffeine. The caffeine is better than other energy drinks, the way they source their caffeine, because it is from an actual source. It is not synthesized caffeine. It is sourced from coffee fruit. And in other energy drinks that I've had that do source also from coffee fruit, there's usually a flavor of coffee kind of sitting underneath everything. Not the case with the DUBBY stuff. And if you are one of those who is opposed to the energy drinks, DUBBY's got you covered there too. They have a hydro line of drinks that have no caffeine. They're just for hydration, and they're still really tasty from what I've heard. I have yet to taste them myself, but as this sponsorship continues, we will be moving our way through their entire line of drinks. And yeah, so it's cheaper if you go per serving with the discount. That's that $1.20 is only if you use the discount Generally Nerdy at checkout. You can follow the link down in the description. It's cheaper than even if you go to the dollar store and get one of the drinks that they sometimes have at a dollar store. I know right now they have Prime, and very frequently they have Bang at the dollar store. We got more caffeine than Prime and still cheaper than the Bang. It's approximately the same amount of caffeine. Again, if you're doing the whole shaker bottle, you're getting the same amount of caffeine, but you also are getting the nootropics in here. There's a lot more to it than just the insane amounts of caffeine that come in a Bang. You're getting similar levels of caffeine, but also things that are going to help your brain function, your blood circulation, so on and so forth. So that is why I have gone with a DUBBY sponsorship. I really dig these guys. You should too. Once again, link in the description. Generally Nerdy is the code at checkout for you to get 10% off on your next energy drink purchase. So bottoms up, nerds. Yeah. Our regular news section this week is relatively short, but some interesting stuff going on here. First up, we have a real quick kind of sort of update. Could have gone in the follow-ups and corrections section, I guess. The Jay Weinberg situation, formerly of Slipknot, very recently was fired from Slipknot and has now found his way into suicidal tendencies, just from one tentpole band to another, right? Some outlets are billing Suicidal Tendencies as an old school thrash band, and that is not accurate. Suicidal Tendencies are hardcore punk. So Jay Weinberg is going to be playing with hardcore legends, Suicidal Tendencies, for the foreseeable future. He's also in another band with one of the Suicidal Tendencies band members. I can't remember the name of the band, but much less significant than signing with the Suicidal Tendencies. So congratulations to Jay. He landed with his feet in a pretty decent spot. Probably not going to pull home the same kind of checks, though there are about half as many band members in Suicidal Tendencies as there are in Slipknot, so maybe the checks will be comparable. And then our only other piece of news this week is Avenged Sevenfold. So they kind of sort of are changing the way that we're going to experience live music. And this is such an interesting thing to be talking about. So they're not the first band to do this. Well, let's rephrase it. They're not the first musical act to do this. They are the first band that identifies as a heavy metal band to do this, and that's why this is significant. But they have just put out an experience, I guess is how you're going to call it. It's in association with, I know I put it in here. I know I did. Amaze VR. There we go. Hey, look at that. Notes that are good. Amaze VR signed them on and filmed a live performance of them with 3D cameras that you can only view through either the Apple Vision Pro or the Meta, whatever their goggles are called right now. You go get the Amaze VR app, and you can have access to all of the artists that have put out concert experiences through Amaze VR. You can listen to one song from each of their sets for free. And if you like what you hear, you want to see more, then you can pay them $13 for the entire set. So if you're just doing it for the Avenged Sevenfold thing, I would imagine the app itself costs money, and then you have to pay them money for the Avenged Sevenfold bit. But yeah, very interesting. And then also, if you are going to see Avenged Sevenfold for real live and not just on the goggles live, then there's going to be a unique experience for you there as well based around this. It's going to be the Mattel song from that performance. They're going to have for VIP ticket holders. As part of your VIP experience, you will be able to watch the Mattel performance on a set of goggles, presumably in a VIP lounge somewhere. The details were not exactly 100% described, because how many people are going to be doing the VIP stuff, right? So yeah, very interesting. Just the future of this kind of technology as applied to this kind of use case is so incredibly amazing, because theoretically, once we get to the point where the tech is there, you can broadcast a live performance and have just a number of these 3D cameras set throughout the performance space, and then sell access to these 3D cameras, and then and you can just take this rig with you everywhere you go and do this every night. And so you have the in-house live audience, and then the online live audience, and the online live audience gets a completely different experience. Just such a cool concept. Very, very interesting. I'm super stoked to see where else this goes. Even if it's not Avenged Sevenfold, it's just some other random band. It's going to evolve. That's my 2 cents. Let's move on, shall we? All we have left in music is suggestions for music this week. Because they did just announce the show, and because it is turning 30 in a couple of months, we're going to talk about the Korn self-titled album. Kind of changed the face of music, because this one is what exposed the world to what would become nu metal. The standout tracks on this one, honestly, the whole damn record. We've got Kill You, you've got Adidas, you've got, oh man, so much stuff on, and some of that might be on Life is Peachy, and I'm just mixing the two records in my head. But either way, the self-titled Ball Tongue is probably still one of my favorite Korn songs to this date. So yeah, great record. Great record. Stands the test of time. Produced by Ross Robinson, and I can't gush any more about it. Go check out the self-titled Korn album as your suggestion this week. That brings us to the end of the video, nerds. Thank you very much for joining me for the news. Once again, there is a full and probably much more up-to-date and recent episode of the news, the full-length version, if you will, called The Week in Nerddom over on the main channel, linked down in the description, and probably link popping up somewhere around my face right about now. So click on that, go check that out as well, or if you prefer your news in more truncated pieces, then by all means just stick around here and go check out some of the other stuff we offer on this channel. Thank you very much for joining me. We will see you in the next one. Before we go, always remember, nerds, that if it is generally nerdy, it's probably here.